In a bustling factory, a young man toiled day after day, his hands steady and his focus sharp. The hum of machines filled the air, a constant rhythm to his life. He was diligent, arriving early and leaving late, ensuring every task was completed with precision. His work was flawless, his dedication unmatched. Yet, year after year, he remained in the same position, watching as others, newer and less experienced, climbed the ranks above him. Their promotions stung like a quiet betrayal, though he never voiced his frustration. Instead, he poured it into his work, hoping his efforts would one day be noticed. Disheartened, he returned one evening to the small house he shared with his grandfather. The old man, with eyes that held the wisdom of many years, noticed the weight on his grandson's shoulders. Over a simple meal, the young man poured out his heart, not in words, but in the slump of his posture, the sigh in his breath. His grandfather, perceptive and kind, offered a suggestion. He spoke of a light bulb burning brightly day after day, so constant that its glow became ordinary, taken for granted. To make others see its value, he said, sometimes it needed to flicker even briefly. The young man understood. He decided to take a single day away from the factory, a quiet experiment to test his worth. The next day he stayed home. The factory, usually steady under his careful hands, stumbled. Machines faltered, tasks piled up, and small errors snowballed into chaos. His absence was a void no one else could fill. The manager, usually distant, noticed the disruption. When the young man returned, the manager's eyes lingered on him with new respect. Soon after, a promotion came, a role that matched his skill and effort. The young man felt a surge of pride. His grandfather's advice had worked. The light bulb, dimmed for a moment, had shone brighter in the eyes of those who overlooked it. Emboldened, he used this tactic again. Another day off, another ripple of disorder at the factory. Each time, his value became clearer to those above him. His position grew, his responsibilities expanded, and his presence became indispensable. He felt powerful, as if he had unlocked a secret to success. The factory relied on him, and he thrived in that certainty. Yet, he began to rely on this strategy too often, taking days away not out of necessity but to prove a point. The light bulb flickered more than it burned. One day, everything changed. He returned to the factory after another calculated absence, expecting the usual acknowledgement of his importance. Instead, the manager called him into an office. The air was heavy, the manager's face stern. The young man was let go, his position replaced by someone new, someone who didn't flicker. Stunned, he left the factory, the hum of machines fading behind him. The world felt unsteady, as if the ground had shifted beneath his feet. He had been so certain of his value, so sure of his plan, yet now he stood with nothing. Back at the house, his grandfather sat quietly, listening to the young man's despair. The old man's eyes, still sharp with understanding, met his grandson's. He spoke again of the light bulb. A bulb that burns too steadily, he said, becomes invisible, its worth unnoticed. But a bulb that flickers too often becomes unreliable, replaced without hesitation. The young man sat in silence, the weight of the lesson settling over him. He had pushed too far, mistaking strategy for balance. His absence, once a reminder of his value, had become a liability. In the days that followed, he reflected on his actions. He had worked tirelessly, pouring his heart into the factory, but his frustration had blinded him. He had sought recognition through absence rather than presence, manipulating his worth instead of nurturing it. His grandfather's words echoed, balance was the key. Not the relentless grind that made him invisible, nor the calculated withdrawals that made him unreliable, but a steady rhythm between effort and rest, contribution and self-respect. He began anew, finding work at another factory. This time, he approached it differently. He worked with the same diligence, but he also learned to value himself without needing others to affirm it. He took time to rest, not to prove a point, but to recharge his spirit. He spoke up when needed, not with demands, but with quiet confidence in his contributions. Over time, his reputation grew, not through tricks or absence, but through consistency and respect for his own worth. The factory thrived with him, and he thrived within it, finding a harmony he hadn't known before. Years later, he looked back on his journey. The sting of his past mistakes had faded, replaced by a quiet pride in the life he had built. He visited his grandfather often, their evenings filled with shared silence and simple meals. The old man's lesson had stayed with him, a beacon through uncertainty. Success, he realized, wasn't just in the work itself, nor in the recognition it brought. It was in the balance, knowing when to shine, when to rest, and how to value both himself and the world around him. The light bulb, he understood, burned brightest when it was steady, not flickering for attention or dimmed by neglect. His life became a testament to this truth. He moved forward, not chasing promotions or approval, but building a world where his efforts and his peace coexisted. The factory hummed, his heart was full, and the lessons of the past guided him toward a future where he was neither invisible nor replaceable, but simply, powerfully himself.